Hey everybody! So finally, one of these prop replica companies has made one of my all-time favorite props from Star Trek, the original series. So this comes from an episode called Catspaw, which was from season 2, and it was a Halloween episode. Apparently it aired sometime around Halloween, and it does have a Halloween feel to it. There's like witches and black cats and castles and stuff like that. It's a cool episode. I really like it. So this prop it was made by Factory Entertainment, and you've heard me talk about Factory Entertainment before on this channel because they make some really cool stuff, a lot of Star Trek props. They have more stuff coming that I'll be doing videos on. But this is what it looks like. It's a machined aluminum Enterprise encased in acrylic. Beautiful, beautiful piece. I've always wanted one of these, and somebody finally made one. I was hoping that somebody that I knew would make one of these, but they never did. All right, well, let's take a look at some scenes from the episode in case you're not familiar with it and you can kind of understand more what this is. So, in the episode, Kirk, Spock, and McCoy beam down to this planet to find out what happened to Scotty and Mr. Sulu because they haven't contacted the ship, so they're trying to find out what happened to them. And then they run into these creepy looking witches that are warning them that they need to go back. Eventually, they come upon this castle. Now, the episodes here were redone, the special effects and the graphics and stuff. And so I don't remember what year it was, but the show came out on Blu-ray and they redid everything and it looked a lot better. The special effects looked a lot better. And then I think in the original version of this, the castle didn't look this elaborate. So this is kind of like a CG version of it. But I will say that the new special effects looks a lot better. Now, with the Blu-rays, it's great because you can watch the original effects if you want to, or you can watch it with the new one. And in this case, we're seeing the new effects. This episode also introduces us to Chekhov. So this is the introduction of Chekhov, played by Walter Koenig. And so they decided that they needed a Russian character on here, and then to appeal to the younger audience, they brought in this younger character. Now, Walter said they put this ridiculous looking wig on him until his hair could grow out because they wanted his hair to be a little bit longer. But in the meantime, this is the only time you see this weird looking wig on him. But it's cool that Walter Koenig is now a permanent character on this show. I met Walter at a convention and he was super nice. He signed a couple of props for me. And he was a quiet guy, but he was very nice. Later on, we get introduced to this character named Korob. He's kind of like a sorcerer or a wizard type of guy with a wand. Now, this character was played by an actor named Theo Marcusa, who sadly died very shortly after this episode was filmed. In fact, I'm not even sure the episode aired by the time he passed away, but he was killed in a traffic accident, and he was only 47. It was kind of shocking to find out that little detail. We're also introduced to this character named Sylvia, who's also got some powers as well. And we find out that she actually becomes a little obsessed with the whole humanity of everything. That we find out they're actually aliens later on taking on human form. And she starts to get kind of obsessed with being able to experience all the things that humans can, such as feelings and touch and things like that. Later on, Kirk tries to make this daring escape, but in a show of power, Sylvia produces this awesome piece right here. Now, I do have one of these where you see it loose. It's not encased in acrylic. The one we're going to look at from Factory Entertainment is encased in acrylic. I'll show you that here in just a minute. But this was such a cool prop. It's a machined aluminum Enterprise. They actually made this piece just specifically for this episode, and it's really neat. So it's kind of like a talisman or maybe a charm. And so in order to show Kirk that she has more power than he does, she starts to heat it over this candle. So she lets Kirk contact the Enterprise. And when she starts to heat it over the candle right here, the real Enterprise, which is orbiting the planet above, starts to get really hot inside. And here DeSalle and Chekhov are telling Captain that the Enterprise is burning up and that nothing they can do is going to keep it from getting too hot up there. Kirk later acquiesces to Sylvia's demands and pulls it away from the candle, and by this point, the Enterprise starts to cool down. Kirk tells Sylvia that now that he's been able to contact the Enterprise, that he can just get help now. The Enterprise can go get help. But Korob here uses his wand and that charm. Now, this is the piece we're going to look at right here. So now this talisman or this Enterprise is now placed in a block of acrylic. And what this represents is that the real Enterprise is now surrounded by an impenetrable force field, as Korob calls it. So now the Enterprise cannot have a search party come out to look for them. It's such a beautiful prop, and it was only made for just this one episode, and it was only made for this scene, so it had a very short screen time. But it was a lot of work put into such a beautiful piece just for that. Here's a close-up of it now from that one scene. Now I want you to notice that on the edge here, there is this change in density in the acrylic. See how there's like a line right in there? So I'll talk about that later. See how it kind of goes all around? I'll show you what this looks like in a more recent picture because it's interesting to see how they made this entire piece. At the end, Kirk does defeat Korob and Sylvia, and here's what they really look like. They're these really weird-looking aliens. I've always thought these things were kind of cool looking, but they sadly die at the end, or maybe not so sadly. But you can see they're kind of an interesting looking puppet. Now, I have a diorama that's coming pretty soon that I ordered, and I'll show you that video in a future video, but it's a diorama of just what you see right here, the Korob and Sylvia in this form, and it's a really well done diorama. I can't wait to get it. The creatures look absolutely accurate. And here we can see where they're dying off at the end. Now, the original footage of this, you could see the wires on them really bad. They're like little marionettes, and you can see the wires all over. But on the Blu-ray, they went back and they erased them out. You can kind of just barely see a little bit of the wires over here where they overlap the creature itself, and they couldn't quite erase them. And here you can see where they start to deteriorate. And at the end, they die. Okay, so now let's take a look at this piece from Factory Entertainment. So it comes in this really nice box, as you saw earlier. It's got the magnetic clasp here on the side. Let's go and open this up. Ooh. Oh, this is cool. So it's got a scene from the episode that we just saw. That scene, actually. That's the one where Sylvia's about ready to heat that thing over the candle. You know, it's actually odd because this piece is when you see it in acrylic, when Korob changes it. So it's interesting that they decided to show this scene. But very nice little presentation. Looks like we've got some kind of a card in here. We'll take a look at this. Oh, and here it is. Oh, look at that. Wow. Ooh, that is... Wow. Oh, that is awesome. Look at this. Is a nice felt box. There's the chain. They got a nice little spot in there for the chain. Let's take this out. Ooh, it's in there kind of tight. Oh, there we go. Oh, it's got some weight to it. This is a nice solid, oh my gosh. This is a nice solid chunk of lucite. Looks like they got a plastic film on here that I can take off. That's good. Protects the acrylic so it doesn't get all scratched up. Oh, look at that. All right, well, let's take a better look at this once I get this plastic off. It does have the chain on here. Let's see if I can stay focused on it. Yeah, very neat. I'm not sure. I guess this just peels off like this. Let me see. Okay, yeah, it's like a nice tape that they got on here. All right, well, let me see if I can get all that off of there. While we're at it, let's go ahead and take a look at this. So now this looks like it's just got some information on here. Okay, oh, actually, it's in a plastic sleeve here. Let's see if we can get it out of here. Probably had some information about the episode, maybe. All right, so yeah, let me get all that out of the way. So here we are. So nice piece of artwork right there. Catspaw, limited edition prop replica. Oh, nice. Oh, okay, so this is number 89, limited edition number 89. Now, I think they're making 1,000 of these, and from what I heard, they are selling like hotcakes. I mean, I think Factory Entertainment is selling these. So they're probably going to sell out of these, and maybe if they sell enough of them, they might raise that number, because it doesn't say what the edition number is, but I heard it was 1,000. So here's a picture of the piece itself. Certificate of Authenticity, Star Trek, the original series, Catspaw Enterprise, limited edition prop replica. Factory Entertainment certifies the authenticity of this licensed prop replica. Oh, okay, and we got all kinds of stuff here. All right, so let me see. I'll try to focus on this. I won't read the whole thing. You can freeze frame the video here, and you can read this. And that's a picture from the episode as we saw, as well as that. More information right there. And here is the replica. Okay, that's very cool. Yeah. It's a pretty cool prop that they made for that show. I mean, the prop guys really put some effort into that piece. I mean, when you think about it, considering how short of a screen time it has, it's very cool. All right, well, let's take a look at it. All right, so let's take a closer look at this. Now, that tape was only on the corner right here, and I think that was to prevent this chain from scratching it up during shipping. So that was pretty cool that they did that. The rest of it doesn't have any tape on it, but here we can see a really nice view. This is so cool. This is so beautiful. I mean, it is very, very awesome. I mean, that looks fantastic. Here's the bottom of it. This looks very much like the prop that we saw in the show. I mean, they even have like the curved bottom of the nacelles here, the shuttle bay back here. You can take a look at the back view of it. And then here's the other side, like that. And then here's the front. That is so cool. And you can even see the main sensor on the tip right here. If I can get the chain out of the way. See that right there? I mean, that is absolutely detailed right there. Here's the top view of it. I mean, this is really beautiful. I've always been fascinated with things that are encased in acrylic. So maybe that's why I've always liked this piece, even when I first saw this episode when I was a kid. Now you'll notice, you can see a line right here. It's probably more visible from this angle, but you can kind of see it. So that's obviously how they made it. So they probably had a mold of this square, and then they pour in the resin, and then they drop in the little enterprise right there. And then they probably use a pressure pot to make sure they get all the air bubbles, out of there, which is about the only way you can get those out. And then after this hardens, they pour in the final layer right here, and then probably put it back in the pressure pot. Make sure the chain is sticking up like the original. What else I like is it's not centered like the original piece. When you see Kirk holding it, you can see it is at an angle like this when when he's holding it. So it's exactly the way it is. I like the weight of it. It's got a nice weight to it, because it is a solid block. So let's take a look at some pictures of what the original prop looks like now. I believe Matt Jeffries, who was the illustrator on the show, he's the one that came up with the design of the Enterprise. I mean, the guy was just a genius. And he owned the original prop after that episode was filmed. And then he, years later, he donated it to the Smithsonian. And I actually got to see it at the Smithsonian. It was pretty cool. In fact, it was on a mannequin that had one of Sylvia's original costumes, the one that you see on the box of this product. And it had her costume on it. The mannequin's hand was kind of like this with the fingers, and wrapped around it was the chain like this, and this was hanging from it. It was really cool. I could see that it had yellowed from age, the plastic had, because it was, had been several like decades before since it was last seen. So let's take a look at the original prop as it looks today. All right, so here's some pictures of the actual prop. So now it's looking a little more yellow on the edges here than it actually does, and you can find these pictures online. But it's very interesting, and I'm glad this prop still exists. I mean, I think it's really cool. But remember when we were looking at the clips, I told you to kind of remember that discolorization or denseness, density, thickness. Well, that's where you can really see it right here. In fact, the outer layer here is more yellow than the inner layer. But what I was really interested in when I first saw these pictures is the fact that it looks like it was encased in a block that was about this big here and here. And then they decided to encase it in an additional block. So it's kind of like a block in a block. So I wonder why they decided to make it a little bit bigger on the edges. It's very interesting. Also, you'll notice there's a bunch of air bubbles in here. And I went back, and when I was watching that episode, because it's in Blu-ray and everything's all nice and crisp now, thank goodness they can do that. But I could actually see the air bubbles in there. So they must not have used a pressure pot on this actual piece. But it's very interesting to see it. And you can also see the chain broke up here. Now let's go to the next picture. Now here's a bottom view of it. Now you can really see, let me see if I can get a better view of it here. There we go. It's hard to do this when you're trying to look at it on the computer. But now you can really see the yellow edges on here, and you can kind of see how there's another box in there. Very, very interesting. But the saucer looks just like it. The factory entertainment version. I mean, everything looks exactly like the way it is. Let's go to the next picture. So here's the other side of it. You can see there's a little bit more air bubbles right in here. Now you can really see where the chain is broken here. Now, when I saw it at the Smithsonian, the chain wasn't broken. I don't know if it broke later or if they had replaced the chain, because when it was hanging on the mannequin's hand, the chain was actually there. So I'm assuming they probably replaced it. But this picture really reveals this inner cube that it's in. I mean, it's really interesting. I would love to know the story behind this piece. I've never heard anybody talk about it or anything. Maybe Matt Jeffries talked about it more. Maybe he didn't talk about it in detail. But it's really fascinating. I don't know why I like this piece so much, but I just think it's so cool. Now let's go to this picture, and that's the top view of it. So it's very cool. I really like it a lot. I'm just glad that this piece still survives today, and it is owned by the Smithsonian. So the Smithsonian will obviously take very good care of it. Now, as I mentioned before, I do have another one of these, and this is the one that's kind of loose. It's not in the acrylic. So this is just like the one that you saw Sylvia hanging over the candle, just like it. It's got a really long chain on it. But this is another beautiful piece. Now, I got this years ago. I've had this for quite a few years, and I honestly do not remember where I got it. It might have been made by somebody that I knew or knew of that was making these, and they made a limited run. I know whoever made it didn't make that many of these. So I might have gotten it from him, or I might have gotten it on eBay. I really don't know. On very rare occasions, you will see these pop up on eBay, but they are very rare. I mean, you just don't see a lot of them, probably because they're probably time-consuming to make. You have to cut these pieces out of aluminum, CNC aluminum, glue the pieces together. You can see this has got the really nice sensor dish on the front. I mean, it's very detailed. Looks just like the original prop as well. It's got the same detail on the back of the nacelles and the shuttle bay. So it looks very much like this one, except for the fact, and I didn't even notice it until now, this one is actually smaller than the factory entertainment one. I was shocked. It's a little bit smaller. This one is a little bit smaller. So the factory entertainment one is bigger. And I'm guessing the factory entertainment one is probably more accurate for the size, since this was a fan-made piece. So I'm guessing that factory entertainment is completely basing this on the original piece. So yeah, so if you want one of these, factory entertainment is the place to get it. They're the only ones making it, and this is not a paid promotion video. I'm not getting paid by factory entertainment to do this video. I just want to make that clear. I just find these really cool things that I think people would like, and maybe they're fans of the same thing I am, and I just want to let people know that they're out there, because things like this in particular are limited editions. They're only making 1,000 of these, and once they're gone, they're gone. And then if you're going to try to get one from this point on, they're going to be really expensive. Now, interestingly enough, I paid something like $250 for this, if I can recall. I mean, it was expensive, but I wanted one so bad that I was willing to pay it. But $250. Now, the factory entertainment one, believe it or not, this is $100. I couldn't believe they were only, and I say only, because I know $100 is a lot of money, but when I found out they were charging $100 for these, I was like, yeah, I'm on board for this for sure, because I think it's a bargain. I mean, you're getting the machined aluminum Enterprise, you're getting the acrylic, you get the beautiful presentation box. I mean, this is a beautiful, beautiful piece. I absolutely love this thing. It's fantastic. So if you want one of these, I'll put a link in the description to get one. I don't know how many they have left, but as I said, the factory entertainment guy said that they are selling like crazy, and they're probably going to run out of these pretty soon. And I think they sold a bunch of these at the San Diego Comic-Con that just happened recently too. So yeah, if you want one, get them before they're gone. I'm really glad I got this piece. I think it's absolutely stunning and beautiful. Factory Entertainment has done some really good stuff in the past. When I found out they were making this, I was so happy, because I've been wanting one of these for so long. I've always had this one, but I really wanted one of these too. All right, well, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons. I'd very much appreciate it. And until the next video, I will see you then. So thank you so much for watching, and have a good one.